Hi there! Today I got a great story to tell you. It's the story of Blaine, a young teacher who tested a new way of teaching Spanish to his students. Blaine discovered that if he wanted to avoid losing the attention of his class and make them learn the language, he had to take advantage of a powerful tool that human beings have been using for centuries: stories. Therefore, Blaine Ray developed an amazing and rather original way of teaching languages, which is both entertaining and effective. This method is known as TPRS, and in this video I'm going to explain how it works. Let's start with the basics and see what TPRS means. TPRS stands for Teaching Proficiency Through Reading and Storytelling. In a nutshell, this approach relies on stories to teach foreign languages. The method is a mixture of reading, listening, and storytelling, and its main goal is to help students achieve proficiency in an entertaining way. Let's see how it works. The very first step of the TPRS method is about introducing new vocabulary. Learners get familiar with new words and phrases by hearing and reading them. In this step, they need to figure out the meaning of the new vocab and get exposure to it. Then, learners need to answer some questions that put the new vocab in context. The questions are repeated out loud several times for two main reasons. First, to provide as many spoken repetition of the new vocab in context as possible. Second, to test the student's comprehension. During the second step of the TPRS method, learners listen to a story which includes the vocab introduced during step 1. The story needs to be short, simple, and entertaining. In addition, the story should include as many repetition of the new words and phrases as possible. Learners listen to the story several times so they can improve their comprehension. If needed, the speed is slower than normal to ease comprehension. Then, learners answer to a series of repetitive questions which provide even more exposure. These questions are based on the so-called circling technique. Let me give you an example of this technique. Let's say you're reading about a man who wakes up in a hospital and does not remember his name. Circling questions based on this information might look like this. The man wakes up in a hospital. Does the man wake up in a hospital? Where does the man wake up? Does the man wake up in a hospital or at home? And so on and so forth. Essentially, you start with the simple sentence and then you ask yourself some questions about that sentence that can be answered based on the information you have. This is a great way to practice repeating new words in context. The third and final step is actually reading the story, so students can actually learn the vocab introduced in steps 1 and 2. In this step, learners will continue memorizing new vocab and reading the story several times to fully understand it. They can even read different stories that share some of the same words and phrases. For instance, another story on the same topic or a continuation of the same story. Once they master the meaning of the story, they can also gain additional skills through the so-called pop-up grammar technique, which consists of providing short and simple grammar explanations about a phrase or word in the lesson. Although the TPRS method was originally conceived to be used in a classroom setting, solo learners can also benefit from it. Let me show you a practical approach to using stories to learn languages, which adapts the TPRS method to solo learners' needs. Step 1. listen to a short story. The story should be adapted to your level, but even if you understand only a small portion of it, that's not a big issue. The goal here is to force you to focus on what you hear and get used to the sound of the language without being influenced by the text. Step number 2. Memorize target vocab. The second step corresponds to the first step in the original TPRS method. You memorize the words and phrases from the story. I recommend using a flashcard app to learn this new vocab, so the following steps will be easier. Step number 3. Listen again. During this step, you listen to the story again. You'll notice an improvement in terms of comprehension because you have memorized the most important words and phrases in the text. Once again, focus on what you hear without any visual clues, like a transcript or subtitles. Step number 4. Listen while reading to study the text. The fourth step is about listening to the story again, but this time while reading along. This will not only help you study the text and better understand the story, but you will also assimilate its syntax and grammar structures more easily. During the fifth and final step, you listen to the story one more time. Once again, focus on how the previous steps helped improve your comprehension. An additional and optional step can be to shadow the text and work a bit on your pronunciation. As you can imagine, one obstacle you might face is finding stories that are either too easy or too difficult, or simply not interesting, or maybe they do not contain the vocab and the structures you need or want to learn. So, since we fell in love with this way of learning, here at Modolingua, we decided to solve these problems by creating our own story. Remember the story idea that I brought up earlier when I spoke about the circling technique? That was actually a teaser for our newest course, which is based on TPRS. We developed an original story about a man who wakes up in a hospital with amnesia. The poor man does not even remember his own name. Throughout the course of the story, listeners and learners not only discover his identity and secrets, but also learn the language of the country where he wakes up. This story is the basis of Moses series, The Man with No Name, one of our most successful language courses so far. Our users simply love it, and we are very happy about the way we adapted the TPRS method to suit solo learners' needs. TPRS was just one of our sources of inspiration when developing the method used in Moses series. It's like a TV show, fun, entertaining, and so addictive that it's hard to stop once you start. If you want to give it a try, click the link in the description. I'm positive that you will like this entertaining and effective way of improving your language skills. And in any case, I really hope you found this method interesting and you got some inspiration to try it out with the short text with audio, or if you want, with Moses series. I'm sure you'll improve a lot. Thanks a lot for watching and see you soon.
Thanks for watching. Want more videos like this one? Subscribe to our channel and hit the little bell to be notified anytime we publish new language learning content. Click the screen or below to go straight to our app where you can start learning a new language today. See you soon!